morning, Transpac race fans. This is Dobbs Davis with Seahorse Magazine, giving you the daily analysis for Wednesday, the 29th of July. We are in the 48th edition of the biennial Transpac race from LA to Honolulu. We'll open the show with our tracker that we're all familiar with by now. And as you can see, we only have 3 boats left out here in the course. Hokahe coming in from the north. They're going pretty well at 8.4 knots. George Bailey's Santa Cruz 52. Fortissimo, smallest boat in the fleet. Japanese team, been out there since 2 weeks and 2 days. So I'm sure they're very keen to get to Hawaii and look at their speeds. 8.1 knots. They've picked up the pace from their usual 6 and 7 knots. I think they're getting really hungry now to get to the finish line. And then down here coming in from the south is Pipe Dream, John Davis's 8.3 knots, going along with his Davidson 50. 230 miles out, so with a 6-hour delay at 8.3, we can subtract about 50, so they're about 180. Same with Fortissimo, and about the same with Hokahe, maybe a little less. So these 3 boats are just about the same distance out and going just about the same speed. We expect them to get in sometime late tonight, early pre-dawn hours. It'll be interesting to see who gets in here first. The good news is for them that if we go to look at the weather map, they've got great breeze, great pressure. That's why they're sailing along at good speed. This is the GFS model for about now, and you can see by the darker greens in here, good pressure from the southeast, about the same as we saw yesterday. It was interesting yesterday because looking at some of the boats out of the group that came in yesterday, they ran into some holes on their final approach coming into Oahu. Second wind in particular was slatting around for a while, much to the chagrin of the photographers who were there waiting for them. Finally they picked up pace and were able to come in. So the fields look very uniform here with good pressure, but there are some holes here and there, just localized. So teams want to avoid them. If we just go forward a little bit in time, we can see that the breeze does stay up and looks quite good for these 3 remaining crews to get into Oahu. Nothing in the forecast that shows that the wind's going to die, and they look like they'll have a nice, strong final approach. So that's all good news. If we look at the 100-mile live tracker, nobody's out there within 100 miles. It's only these 3 teams that are out there at about 180 or so. So they'll start coming up here on the 100-mile tracker live screens soon. I wanted to just take a minute to do a little bit of analysis. Actually, let's come back to our results before I do this. Because of the finishers yesterday, we finally got some Division 6 entries here on the results and in the leaderboard. You can see by their overall results that they did not do well in the fleet. You know, they had that Thursday start, which was problematic for Divisions 4, 5, and 6 in the overall standings. They have not done well relative to the fleet simply because they had conditions in the first couple of days which were really tough relative to the Monday and even the Saturday starters. So we don't see them factoring well in overall, but the good news is that Division 6 has come in and is starting to populate the results. I think the last one here for Division 6 will be that boat coming in, the Davidson 50 coming in from the south. But I wanted to look at our overall winners. Grand Illusion, Santa Cruz 70, James McDowell and his team, they won in 1999 overall. They also won in 2011, and this is their 3rd time winning in 2015. You can see that the sleds here did well in overall results, and so I wanted to just look at that for a moment using our tracker and just see what they look like relative to the rest of the fleet. Now, Everybody is familiar with how this looks. If we turn on overall, you can see the entire fleet and the entire fleet tracks. We had some coming off to the south, diving in, such as here Pipe Dream that's still out there. You know, they chose a southerly route that clearly didn't work out really well due to their late arrival here in Hawaii, and some of the other teams really didn't do well going south. Almost everybody went north. The classic Transpac S-curve usually has everybody diving south, crossing the rum line to the north as they get lifted, and then jibing in into Hawaii. This year, with the unusual weather, everybody was going north quite early in order to seek pressure, because the grid file showed that the pressure was not very strong to the south or even on rum line. So there's a little bit of bias here in the way this looks compared to past races. But just looking at our Division 3 competitors who did fairly well overall, we can see what their tracks were. An initial dive to the south over here off of the Channel Islands and past Catalina, and then heading a bit north for pressure, keeping the boat moving. A couple little jibes and kinks in the tracks. But the tracks that I'm looking at and focusing on are for Grand Illusion and Pyewacket. Those two were neck and neck for most of the race, and finished this race 1-2 overall. You can see they stuck very close together. It makes you think that perhaps it was tactical in a way. The Buenos Aires went up farther north. Big kink in their track here, and probably a concerted decision on their part to dive south. That dive south came earlier on for Grand Illusion and Pyewacket. They decided to start coming in, sometime here. If we go back, we can use this timeline, which is a little bit of a clever device to show where these tracks were in time. So going back to their start, which was on the 18th of July. And that's got us right about there. So off they come, off the coast. That initial dive south, the difficult conditions initially. Remember, they started in rain and southerlies and sort of weird stuff for Southern California this time of year. And then they came north. And everybody remained pretty close as a pack. Again, focus on Grand Illusion here in the tan icon, and Pyewacket in orange. Pyewacket rates a little bit faster than Grand Illusion, so I think they were seeing that out in their performance. A couple of kinks and jibes in there, probably light air, keeping the boat moving. But look how closely they remained as a pack before they separated. And then right there on the 23rd of July, sometime in this time frame, is when everybody decided, we better get south. So south they came, and you can analyze this a little further. Good speeds as well, 14.5 knots, quite good for the sleds. So they found the right opportunity and the right pressure to dive in, and they had good weather and maintained that, even getting into their final approaches. 11 knots, not bad. I think Grand Illusion the same. So quite a hard-fought fight. Another thing that happens, of course, is when you have boats that are close together and everybody fighting pretty hard in a close group like this, they sail the boat better. They just sail it faster. Everybody's working hard, and they get the most out of the boat. So in a way, it's not surprising for me to see this group coming up high in the results, because they know their boats well. They've been sailing them for years. They're really optimized in performance. So congratulations once again to the Grand Illusion team and James McDowell, local Hawaii-based team, for doing well in this year's Transpac. I will try again tomorrow to give another analysis show based on some of the weather that we saw, and interface this with the tracks. But for now, I'll be signing off here on the 29th of July, Wednesday. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Dobbs Davis with Seahorse Magazine, and we'll see you tomorrow.